Diane almost didn't go to her granddaughter's soccer game. Not because she didn't want to. Her knees had been talking to her all week, and the thought of those metal bleachers made her wince before she even got out of the car. But she went. And halfway through the second half, she caught herself standing up, sitting down, standing up again to cheer without even thinking about it. No wincing, no white-knuckle grip on the rail. She told me later, "I didn't notice I wasn't struggling until the game was already over." Here's the part that surprised her, and might surprise you too. She'd spent years believing that weak legs after 60 were just something you managed with more rest. Turns out, for a lot of people, it's closer to the opposite. Some of the foods we're taught to eat lightly as we age are actually the ones our legs need more of, not less. So here's your first real answer, right out of the gate. One of the biggest levers for leg strength after 60 isn't exercise alone. It's whether you're getting enough of one particular nutrient at the right times of day, something most people over 60 are quietly falling short on without any symptoms warning them first. We'll name it in just a minute, along with 5 others that work alongside it. Why does this even matter so much more now than it did at 40? A few things shift quietly in the body as we move into our 60s and 70s. Muscle doesn't rebuild itself as automatically as it used to. Your body needs a stronger nutritional signal to trigger the repair process after normal wear and tear, like a long walk or a flight of stairs. On top of that, the body absorbs certain nutrients less efficiently than it once did, even if your diet hasn't changed at all. And there's a slow, steady decline in muscle mass that starts as early as your 30s and speeds up after 60. Not something wrong with you, just something worth actively working against. None of that is a crisis, it's just information. And it means the food choices that support leg strength now matter a little more than they did before. Not because your body is failing you, but because it needs a bit more help doing what it's always done. Before we get into the 6 foods themselves, quick ask. If you've noticed your own legs feeling stronger or weaker depending on what you've been eating, drop a comment and let me know. It genuinely helps guide what we cover in future videos, and I read every one. And if this kind of practical, no-nonsense health info is useful to you, consider subscribing. We put these out regularly. Now, a couple of questions worth sitting with as we go. Why does a nutrient found in something as ordinary as canned salmon do more for your legs than most supplements marketed specifically for joints? And why do some of the healthy protein choices people switch to after 60 actually leave their muscles underfed by the end of the day? There's also one mistake, a really common one, that quietly cancels out the benefit of even the best foods on this list. I'll walk you through exactly what it is and how to avoid it before we finish today, because it trips up more people than you'd expect. For now, let's talk about what's actually going on inside your legs as you get older, so the next 3 foods make complete sense instead of feeling like just another list. Muscle tissue is in a constant, quiet cycle of breakdown and rebuild. It happens every single day, whether you're a marathoner or someone who mostly gardens and walks the dog. In your 20s and 30s, that rebuild process is efficient and mostly automatic. After 60, the body becomes what researchers sometimes call anabolically resistant, a technical way of saying your muscles need a bigger, clearer nutritional cue to actually respond and rebuild. Skimp on that cue, and the muscle you use every day walking, climbing stairs, and standing up from a chair slowly erodes, even if you're staying active. There's also a circulation piece. The blood vessels feeding your leg muscles rely on a healthy, flexible lining to deliver oxygen and nutrients efficiently, and certain foods directly support that flexibility, while others quietly work against it. That's the backdrop. Now, let's get into the 6 foods themselves, starting with the one most people completely overlook. Let's start with fatty fish. Think salmon, sardines, mackerel. This is a nutrient I hinted at earlier. Here's the problem people notice first. Stiffness. Not pain exactly, but that dull, achy tightness in the knees and hips, especially first thing in the morning or after sitting too long. Most people chalk it up to just getting older and stop there. But here's the reframe. A lot of that stiffness is tied to low-grade inflammation, which tends to creep up quietly with age, regardless of how active you are. It's not injury-level inflammation. It's more like a low simmer that never fully turns off, and it makes muscles and joints feel tighter and more reluctant to move. This is where omega-3 fatty acids come in, found richly in fatty fish. In plain terms, omega-3s act like a dial that helps turn that simmer down. They support the body's natural anti-inflammatory processes, which can translate into legs that feel looser and more willing to move, especially during the first few steps of the day. Mainstream nutrition science has consistently pointed to omega-3 rich diets being associated with lower markers of inflammation and better outcomes for joint comfort and mobility in older adults. Not a cure, but a meaningful support. 2 servings a week is the general guidance most nutrition experts land on. Canned salmon or sardines count, and they're often easier on the wallet than the fresh version. Next, eggs. The relatable problem here is a different one, that feeling of legs being there but not exactly strong. You can walk fine, but standing up from a low chair takes a little grunt effort it didn't used to. Climbing stairs feels more like a task than a non-event. The overlooked gap? Most people over 60 aren't eating enough complete, high-quality protein spread evenly across the day. Breakfast in particular tends to be protein light. Toast, cereal, maybe coffee, while dinner gets protein heavy. But muscles don't stockpile protein for later use the way we might assume. They respond best to steady input throughout the day. Eggs are one of the most efficient ways to close that morning gap. They contain all the essential amino acids, the building blocks your body uses to repair and maintain muscle tissue, in a form the body absorbs and uses easily. Nutrition scientists generally agree that spreading protein intake across meals rather than loading it all at dinner supports better muscle maintenance in older adults, specifically because of that anabolic resistance we talked about, the body needing a stronger, more consistent signal to trigger rebuilding. 2 eggs at breakfast is a simple, realistic way to start closing that gap. No dramatic diet overhaul required. Third, leafy greens. Spinach, kale, Swiss chard. The problem people notice here is subtler, a kind of general leg fatigue that shows up on longer walks, or legs that just feel heavy by late afternoon, even without doing much. The overlooked piece is nitrates. Not the kind associated with processed meat, but naturally occurring plant nitrates found abundantly in leafy greens. In plain terms, these compounds help your blood vessels relax and widen slightly, which allows blood and the oxygen it carries to move more efficiently to working muscles, including the legs. Efficient blood flow means your leg muscles get fuel and oxygen faster during activity and clear out waste products faster afterward, which translates into less of that heavy, sluggish feeling. This is well-documented territory in exercise and nutrition science. Leafy greens and nitrate-rich vegetables are consistently associated with improved blood flow efficiency, and in some studies, modestly improved exercise endurance. A cup of cooked spinach or a couple of cups of raw greens a few times a week is a reasonable, realistic target. No need to overhaul your plate, just make sure greens show up regularly rather than occasionally. Fourth, Greek yogurt. The problem people notice. Recovery takes longer than it used to. A long walk on Saturday used to mean nothing by Sunday. Now it might mean sore, stiff legs for 2 or 3 days afterward. The overlooked gap is twofold. Protein again, but paired with something people don't think about nearly as much: gut health's connection to inflammation and recovery. Greek yogurt delivers a strong dose of protein in an easily digestible form, plus life cultures that support a healthy gut microbiome, the community of bacteria in your digestive system that, among other things, plays a role in regulating inflammation throughout the body. In plain terms, a healthier gut environment is associated with lower background inflammation, and lower background inflammation means muscles that recover a bit faster after being used. It's not instant and it's not dramatic, but nutrition research does support gut health as a meaningful, often overlooked piece of the recovery puzzle for older adults. A serving of Greek yogurt a few times a week? ideally the less processed, lower sugar kind, is a simple way to work this in. Fifth, beans and lentils. The relatable problem: energy that dips mid-afternoon, legs that feel less powered by 3 or 4 p.m., even on a normal day. The overlooked cause is often blood sugar swings. Not diabetes level, just the everyday kind that comes from meals heavy in refined carbs and light on fiber. When blood sugar spikes and then drops, energy drops with it, and muscles, including the ones in your legs, feel that dip directly, since they rely on steady glucose delivery to function well. Beans and lentils are rich in fiber and plant protein together, which slows digestion and creates a steadier, more gradual release of energy, rather than a spike and crash pattern. This is well-established nutritional science. Fiber-rich, protein-paired meals are consistently linked to more stable blood sugar and steadier energy throughout the day. Now, here's the tension and release moment worth pausing on. Muscle loss with age, sometimes called sarcopenia in medical circles, is often described as one of the leading contributors to falls, frailty, and lost independence in older adults. That sounds alarming, and it's meant to get your attention. But here's the release. Sarcopenia is not inevitable, and it's not a switch that flips overnight. It's slow, it's gradual, and it responds meaningfully to consistent movement and the kind of everyday food choices we're walking through right now. This isn't about outrunning a countdown clock. It's about steady, ordinary habits stacking up in your favor. So, how do you actually put 6 foods into a normal week without turning your kitchen into a project? Keep it simple. Aim for fatty fish twice a week. Canned is fine. Eggs a few mornings a week, even just 2 eggs alongside your usual breakfast. A serving of leafy greens most days, even a handful tossed into a soup or sandwich. Greek yogurt a few times a week as a snack or breakfast base. Beans or lentils worked into 2 or 3 meals, a soup, a chili, a simple side. None of this requires precise measuring or strict timing. The general, well-supported idea is to spread protein across your meals rather than saving it all for dinner, and to let these foods show up regularly rather than perfectly. Consistency across weeks matters far more than any single perfect day.